Happy Monday, everybody. Thank you so much for downloading or streaming the Be Our Guest podcast. Ready to head out to sea with us today? Scotty G is back from his cruise on the Disney Wish last weekend, and we talk all about his fun adventures out at sea. He took his in-laws who sailed Disney Cruise Line for the very first time. We talk about his affinity for the Wishers, the onboard band that he likes so much, some great dining, some tastings. He was even a part of a wedding, and he crashed a wedding that he didn't even know the bride and groom. It was okay. It was just a mistake. And we talk about all the little things that make Disney cruises so much fun on today's show. It's Mike and Scott, and we just talk about our affinity for Disney Cruise Line for over an hour. So hope you enjoy the show today as we just talk Disney Cruise with you. Don't forget, today's podcast always brought to you proudly by the Magic for Less Travel. We'd love to help you plan your next Disney adventure. And if you'd like to go on a Disney cruise, we can help you plan that trip for no additional cost to you and get you a nice onboard credit to spend just like cash when you get on the ship. Check out all the details today over at themagicforless.com. Please also use our Amazon affiliate link when you shop online. That one extra click supports everything we do throughout the year. It's beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. And thank you so very much to our Patreon supporters. You guys are the all-stars that keep our show on the air. You can support us as well. Just $5 a month, just a cup of coffee a month, and you support the show. You keep us going. And for that support, you get a bonus show every week called Mike in the Midwest. Come over this week. We'd sure love to have you as part of the club. It's patreon.com/Be Our Guest Podcast.
Ready to take a trip to the world? You found the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. This is where your memories come front and center on our podcast stage.
Welcome to episode 2642 of the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rallman from BeOurGuestPodcast.com and one of the senior agents over at the Magic for Less Travel. Happy Monday to you and happy President's Day here in the United States of America. We've got your ticket right here for today's show. It's Mike and Scotty G. That's right. I mean, I don't know what we're running for, but we're going to take you to down to Port Canaveral. We're going to take you on a Disney cruise because that's where Scott was last weekend, having the best time ever. And I have a beef with him right off the bat. We're going to be talking about, so it's going to be.
I know what it is,
dude. It's big. I mean, I talked to Pam about this on last week's shows. I don't know if you've caught up with the shows yet, but man, I was like, what is going on? So, my best friend here, Scotty G. What's going on? Happy Monday. How are things going?
Happy Monday. Happy President's Day. Good to be back from seeing some green grass and some sunshine. I always say, like, from where we live, Mike, it's nice to get that, even if it's just for a few days, that escape in February feels so good. You just had it at Disneyland right before I did, and now I just got to grind through 6 more weeks, right, of winter, and then next thing we know, it'll be spring, hopefully.
Well, you have a trip to Hawaii, not too far.
I do,
right?
I do, man. I am so lucky. I just don't know. I don't know how this is happening, but trust me, people. I'm not a trust fund kid or anything like that. Like, I work hard and struggle just as much as everyone, but I like to have fun too. I always tell everyone, like, I'm gonna work till I'm 80 because I'm an awful saver. I love spending money, but I'm bad at saving it. But yeah, we had the trip to Hawaii, but that works out because we have our DVC points. That comes in really handy for that, right? So we can stay on our DVC points. Then I just book cash rooms with you for the rest of the year for all the other destinations.
Well,
but yeah.
And Emily's going out there for a thing with school, right?
So that's why it's happening. Like, we did not intend to go to Hawaii like a year and a half after our first trip there, but they're going to be playing at Pearl Harbor and some other things senior year. Like, man, just seems like it'd be awesome to just see her like play her instrument, be proud, playing that Pearl Harbor of all places. Like, what a moment that's going to be. I just know it's going to give me chills and probably put me in the tears a little bit. And then just do all this great stuff with the band. And then we'll have a few days for the family to have fun. So it'll be a fun trip for sure.
I can't wait to talk about that on the show because I'm super curious about all the logistics of, going, because, we could tie that into your Rolani trip report when you get back in March with that. But traveling all that great distance from Michigan to Hawaii, and then I had no idea that they're playing at a place like Pearl Harbor. I mean, what an honor to play, to play at such a a tremendous place. I mean, it's definitely a place that everybody should visit and, pay respects. That's really cool.
Yep. Yep. And then they get to do, oh gosh, I was just like kind of tearing up just looking at the itinerary, because then I know this is not the Alani episode, but they're gonna, because I just got this email like while we're on our trip, like then they're gonna have this special wreath made like with the names of the band, and then they get to go out to the what is it, the USS, oh my god, I'm
Arizona
history. Thank you, Mike. Yeah. I've been there. I know what it is. Yeah. So I think privately, like the band goes to the Arizona as their group, and then they pay their respects with this wreath. Like it's just gonna be a cool moment for sure that they're gonna do. So, but we'll talk about that more when we get to Alani here in like 6 weeks.
That's absolutely. I can't believe you 6 weeks, you dog. I love that for the kids though. I mean, I've still never made it out there. I'm going to once Pam retires, and that's happening here soon. So that's where she really wants to go, and I'm going to make that happen for her. That's the teacher in me, the history buff in me, got to make it happen. I'm so happy for those kids. But we're talking cruising on today's show. I think that's what everybody needs. I mean, the highs have been in the 20s here in Missouri. I'm sure it's probably at least that bad for you guys up in the mitten. It is just the groundhog was right. It's been a lot of winter. Spring, even though spring training is happening down in Florida, Arizona, it is not happening here in the Midwest. So let's talk some sun, some palm trees, some nice ocean breezes. And of course, we have to talk about the genesis, how this trip came together. And again, you booked this trip. This wasn't your record for last minute bookings, because you did book one earlier, like 3 or 4 days out for, I think, a Memorial Day weekend.
Yep.
That was great.
You got it right. Memorial Day weekend. Yeah. I emailed you like that Tuesday. I think the ship was leaving on a Friday. I was like, hey, Mike, can we get this done?
Yeah. I was like, really? For real? Okay. I was like, wink twice if this is really Scott Gardner that we're going to do.
I will tell you though, on that cruise, I broke the rule on that one. And I flew down that Friday of the cruise, which is like we all know, we preach that so much here. You never do that. But I took a chance with fate that day, and it worked out, luckily. But like, don't ever do that, folks. Don't ever fly out the day of the cruise.
You made me nervous like 7 times on that cruise. So we're not going to talk about that one. It worked. Okay. It worked a lot. It worked out, but you got sweating bullets for that whole weekend. Anyway, so let's talk about this one. You guys did a 3-nighter on the Wish just this past weekend. So this time last weekend, you were on the Wish. And how did it come together? Because this one had some special circumstances. A really cool experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So Liz's folks have been helping us do some repairs on a house so that we can get it up to list and sell. And my father-in-law just project managed the heck out of that thing, and then did so much work that I wouldn't have been able to do working full-time, things like that. So helped us out big time. And of course, as they always do, I know you can relate to this, Mike, because I think Pam's dad is very similar, very handy with things like that. And they never want anything, right? Like, oh, it was my pleasure to help you. And, like his back hurts and he's doing all this stuff for us. And it was right around Christmas time. And we're like, you know what? It'd be so awesome to gift them a trip somewhere. Because we always say experiences is the best thing. There's nothing I could get them that they don't have. Like, they're almost 70. And they love cruising. They love Royal Caribbean Cruise Line. They've never done Disney. And we're like, well, now this will be a chance. Like, we can just purchase them a cruise, like a 3-nighter, because I think a 3-nighter is a good taste for this, even though we always want to cruise longer. But because what they don't like it, and it's a weekend cruise, so you don't have to take that much time off. So it worked out perfect. We booked a 3-night cruise and just gifted them a Disney Cruise Line vacation because they've never done it before. How awesome is that? That
is awesome. So now, how did you? Once you told them you had you didn't have a lot of time, but you had a little time. How did you prep them for the Disney Cruise Line experience as opposed to like what they knew from cruising in general to kind of, prime them for what's going to be different sailing with Disney?
Yeah. So they didn't want to know a whole lot, but because they have some general knowledge on cruising, and I'll say there's a lot of overlap between like a lot of the cruise lines, but we did tell them about like the dining, right? The rotational dining. And they're like, say what? We're going to be in a different restaurant every night and the same serving team? I'm like, yeah, that's right. So they move along with you. And like, I think that's one of the coolest sells with Disney Cruise Line, because you get to experience a different restaurant every night, not sitting I'm not saying all the main dining rooms are boring on other cruise lines, but they can be. And if you're sitting in the same dining room every single night, like, I think it's kind of cool to switch around, get some different atmosphere. And we know how well Disney Cruise Line themes those restaurants. So they were super excited to check that out. And get this, Mike, the dining rotation worked out perfectly because it was just how I wanted. It's just how we had it on the podcast cruise. Like with my least favorite to my middle to my favorite, it was Marvel, then Arendelle, then 1923 to wrap up the cruise.
See, okay, let me break in here and kind of tell you what my beef was, right? Because this is what I was telling Pam about, because I was dying to know all about your cruise, like the whole time you were there, right? And so you texted me, you know, and we follow each other on Find My Friends on our iPhones, so we know what we're doing. And your cruise was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? So as I'm working at home and walking on the treadmill and stuff like that, I'm following you before the cruise. You're at Coronado Springs the day before. And so I'm watching you, you know, you're in the casita. I always say like, okay, he's in the casitas. That's his jam. I'm like, oh, yeah. But I'm like, oh, he's chilling in the pool. The casita's quiet pool. That's his jam. He's living his best life. I know what he's doing. Like this is Scotty G living his best life, getting ready for the cruise. And so I'm just like, you know, and then finally, you know, I'm like, I see you post a couple of pictures and then I see movement on 417, right? I'm like, oh, dude, that's the best ride ever. Like we all know that if you've, you know, gone on a Disney cruise, that's the best, you know, it's the 45 minutes. You're just like living the high life. You're cruising down 417 east towards Port Canaveral. You're just like, yes, I'm getting ready to get on the ship. You know, you're getting ready, like anticipation, get ready to go over those humps and see the ship.
When you go over those humps and you see the ship, man, that's the best feeling, isn't it?
See the water, then you see the ship, and then you're like, you know. And so I'm like, yeah, Scotty G's living his best life. So all this, you know, and I'm like, it was Friday. So like Fridays are my super busy day, right? Everybody gets paid and wants to make payments on their trips. I mean, it's like, it's crazy right here on Friday, especially Friday mornings and stuff. So I'm trying to keep up with stuff and trying to watch you. So I'm like, it's not a big deal. Like, and I see you posting like a couple pictures, you know, like you're on the ship a little bit. I see your door. I see, you know, a couple things on social media, but like I'm swamped, right? And I'm like, it's not a big deal. Like I'll catch up with him later. You didn't buy the internet package, dog. Like you never moved. Like Scott stays stuck in Port Canaveral. I'm talking like to Pam Friday night. I'm like, dude, I don't know what's up with my boy, dude. His head's still stuck at the port, like at Port Canaveral. Like that ship is moved. Like I know it sailed, like because Ricky was on the Fantasy, right? And like, yep. And you guys sailed within an hour of each other. Like Ricky had moved. Like Ricky bought the package, and Ricky's super cheap. I love Ricky, but she's super cheap. I'm like, Ricky even bought the package. Like, and she's like chucking out she's cruising around the Bahamas on the Fantasy. I'm like, Scotty G. I'm like, my boy that's always on social media I can't talk to my boy. He's out there.
I know, man.
I was like, oh my God, he didn't even tell me. I'm like having withdrawal. I'm checking. I checked on you like 58 times over the weekend and you're still
I'm sorry to let my boy down.
That's okay, but I was just like, my boy, I can't talk to him. It's crazy.
I text you on Tuesday, I think, because I still kind of want to talk about how we got to the port and everything, but I texted you on Tuesday and I said, I just wanted to stay away from the world, you know?
Right.
I just like old school cruising, you know, which is nice. You unplug. And I want to stay alert with my in-laws, you know, because like this trip was for them and Emily. Like we've been so busy and all that, so it's just so great to like be with her and not be like looking at my phone the whole time. So that was so nice.
Well, so let me just tell you, because you've been super busy and just got back. So Pam and I recorded this past week's shows on Super Bowl Sunday afternoon, right? So you were gone, you were just finishing up your cruise, and I told her the situation on the shows we recorded. I'm like, Scott did not buy the internet. I have not talked to him in like 3 days and it's killing me. I'm like, I said, I don't know what happened. Maybe his phone broke. Maybe he just didn't buy it intentionally. And we talked about that. And I said, I have so much respect for Scott because if he didn't buy it, that takes discipline, but it is throwing it back to old school cruising and just enjoying the moment. And I said, I don't know if I have the discipline to do that at this point. I wish I did because I'm so kind of addicted to social media and I like to share so much, but so how was it? I mean, did you really enjoy just kind of taking the phone and just, I'm sure you shot some video for your vlog and
I was doing a lot of videoing.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I mean, but I mean, would you recommend that for folks? If it was a 3-night cruise versus 7,
recommend it.
Yeah.
I would so recommend it. And one thing too, you can iMessage. So I almost iMessaged you one day just to
I thought you could, but I'm like, I couldn't remember if it was on the ship or if it was like with Southwest Airlines when you don't buy the internet. I didn't want to. And the thing was, like,
you can iMessage because it was weird. I got an iMessage from my boss's boss because there was like a tsunami like in the Caribbean. She was like, "Are you near there? Are you okay?" So,
yeah. Here's the other thing too. I thought you could. I knew you could, but here's my decision. I said, if you didn't buy the internet, you didn't want to be bothered. So I didn't want to initiate it. Like if you would have texted me, I would have texted back.
and it totally would have been fine.
But but I was like, this is intentional at this point. But I wondered about it. It was an experiment.
Yeah, old school cruising, baby. I just want to unplug. But it's funny, like, even though you're in airplane mode and Wi-Fi for the ship, for like the navigator and all that, like you still get random things. Like I was getting likes on Instagram for like a reel. I'm like, what are they liking? What reel was it? Like, or like I would even see the Discord. I would even see messages. Like it was just, they wouldn't be like all the time, but just like randomly pop up. Like I knew how the Super Bowl was going just from some of the Discord messages. Like it was just so funny. But I really enjoyed not paying for the internet. It just like, just got to unplug and just relax, man. It was like so nice.
Oh man, that's cool. And much respect, because there's so much of life where we're not in the moment. Like we're so worried about just sharing, and I'm number one guilty of that. And when I saw you did that, I was like, God, that's respect. I love that. So all right, let's go back though.
Pre-cruise, I want to talk real quick. Pre-cruise,
go for it.
Coronado, home of the Be Our Guest podcast Discord.
I just booked it for March when we go down for the Give Kids World event.
And I just love that resort. I mean, so many restaurants, and like I love like walking that trail or running it. You know, it's so beautiful. Hung out at the pool there. Met up with Jason Veronica that afternoon for beignets at French Quarter. I got to give like my in-laws like some resort touring because we've only stayed with them at Old Key West and Animal Kingdom Lodge. So they got to see Coronado. They got to see a little bit of French Quarter. And we thought like, oh, the Riviera would be such a lovely place for them to see too, because that's a brand new resort since the last time they had been there. So we went to Topolino's, celebrated Beth's birthday, which was the day before, had an amazing dinner, and they got to see the fireworks show. So like, I mean, that was kind of a cool, like non-theme park day, right? Pool time, beignets, a little lunch, more pool time, relaxing, and then capped it off with an awesome dinner with fireworks. We didn't even step foot into a theme park.
That's a great Disney day. I mean, that is a top of the line day because you got fireworks show. I mean, probably the best, most sought after meal on property, and some resort time and pool time, and beignets with friends.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was so good. So I mean, that's why I was saying earlier too, like always book that flight out like the day before, and then even if you don't have a theme park ticket, you can make the most of it. I know that you always talk about that spring break trip you did, right? Where you did a cruise like out of Miami, and you guys hung out at Walt Disney World for a couple days.
Yep.
And those are some of the best memories sometimes, like just playing the mini golf or doing whatever. There's so many things you can do on property without a theme park ticket. And my in-laws just loved it. They loved that pool time at the Casitas quiet pool. It was just us. We had a little beach ball that we were hitting around and all that. Like they were just having the best time.
Yeah, the Gardeners, you guys know how to do a pool day. I will give it to you guys. You guys are awesome at pool days. So I'm sure you guys had a blast with that. So was everybody like Emily's
all getting excited, right?
Yeah, get you like amped up, right? Having that like, we're in a pool, we're fine, especially when you come from cold weather in the winter, right? You're like, ooh, it's warm. We're getting ready to go on a cruise because it was actually really warm. Wasn't it like in the 80s? I mean, it was nice and warm.
It was unbelievable weather. And my in-laws were a little nervous about a 3-night because they've always stayed away from them because for the value of like, booking the airfare and such a short cruise. And like the first day is kind of hectic and all that. And then the next thing you know, you're getting luggage tags in your room, but I kept telling them like, you're not paying for this cruise. So don't even think about that. Just enjoy it. Enjoy this new experience. So then they're like, oh yeah, it's just still feels weird. Spoiler alert, they loved it. But they loved the cruise. But anyway, so we're just talking about all that in the pool. Then the day of port. So Ricky messages me and tells me like, what are you staying on Port Canaveral too? Like what day? I'm like, yeah, tomorrow. She's like, yeah, us too. I'm like, wait a second. How is that going to work out? I've never heard of 2 Disney ships sailing out of Port Canaveral at the same time. I guess it must happen quite a bit, but
yeah,
I've never personally experienced it. Have you seen that happen, Mike?
Well, so when I went down for the COVID restart cruise, when they had me down for the social media thing with the girls, there were 2 ships in port then. And I didn't know if it was just because it was like during COVID, there were like no ship sailing at the time hardly, but what did I say? I think I was on the Dream, and I think the Fantasy was also sitting there because I didn't even realize it was that big of a thing, but I posted a picture on social media. And I'm standing in front of the Dream, and you can see the Fantasy in the background. And somebody's like, holy cow, there's 2 Disney Cruise Line ships in port at the same time. And I was like, oh, yeah, there are. So
it just seemed nuts to me because we always are used to that terminal, right? Where you walk through the Mickey ears to get on to like the gangway and all that. And I was like, well, that better be ours because we have the most ship. Because I talked about that to the in-laws. I talked about like how like they have their own like awesome terminal, like with like Minnie Mouse is out there greeting you a lot,
Yeah.
you know, and then you got the big mouse ears, you got that viewpoint, like a lookout, like you can walk off to the side, kind of like the concierge
observation
area.
deck. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, we were the fantasy was in that one. So we had to go through a totally different terminal, and it just, I will say, it didn't feel as magical. I mean, you're still getting on a ship, you know, you're excited and all that, but it was definitely not as magical as the other terminal.
I guess what they do is they put the longer cruise in the
Maybe because
whoever's there
because this is the other thing with that. We sailed out, Mike, at 4:00, like, which was crazy. So the muster drill was like 3:15. Actually, it might have even been like 3:30 when we started sailing away, which it's normally like 5:30 when we sail out Port Canaveral on the other ships, you know? So it was weird. Like, I have video of this, of us sailing away. So like, I didn't even go up to the top deck because we were just hanging out in the pool.
Yeah, I saw that. I thought that was
I didn't
really
know.
cool.
I didn't think sail away was going to happen until like 5, but then all of a sudden, like, we're moving. We were so surprised. So we're like, oh, everybody, let's wave the Ricky. So it's kind of cool, like leaving port and then like waving goodbye to the fantasy. It was a unique experience for sure.
Yeah, I thought that was intentional because I saw that picture of like Elizabeth, and I was telling
Yeah.
Pam, I'm like, on the Wish and on the, you know, on the Treasure, like I said, you know, where they were on that ship that sail away, I was like, they're on the very aft. I was like, 'cause that's where the adult pool is on that class of ship. They're like in the adult pool waving away at sail away. I'm like, they're chilling in the adult pool at sail away. I'm like, that's cool. I'm like, but because they're trying to do different things on this. That's what I was trying to explain to Pam. I'm like, I'm not talking to him this cruise, but I'm guaranteeing you what he's doing is doing just different stuff. I think that's his goal for this cruise. And that's
trying to find like comfortable things for my in-laws, right? Like they loved that infinity pool, like on the back of the ship, you know. Granted, they probably would have liked to sail away, but like, you know how that is. It's loud music, it's chaotic, and that's not really their scene. And it was cool for us to experience that differently. It was cool. Like you can still kind of hear the music, like in the distance. And like part of it was like, people are waving at Jetty Park and I'm in the back of this pool, but it's all good.
Yeah. Here's the other thing too about Ricky's cruise. For some reason, I thought Ricky was sailing like a week or two after you. I didn't realize she was sailing the day you were sailing either. Like the way she was talking about it to us, she never confirmed like she was sailing the same weekend or day that you were. I never put two and two together until I saw him find my friends, because we all follow each other, that you guys were in the same spot. I was like,
yeah, I had no clue either until she sent me that text like, are you at Port Canaveral tomorrow? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, sweet, so am I. I'm like, what? Get out of here.
So let's talk about, you talked about the port arrival, not exactly, you didn't get the main port, but you got so what was arrival and first impressions? You've been on the Wish before, obviously. But your in-laws.
So this is great for me because I've clearly stated the Wish is my least favorite of the Disney ships I've been. I haven't been on the classics yet. That's going to be changing soon. We'll talk about that. I
can't wait.
But so we went to Marceline Market and all that. I'm like, and I was just prepping my in-laws. Like, it's going to be chaotic up here. You know, it's going to be hard to find a table and all this, and it gets pretty wild. Everyone's coming here. It wasn't at all. Like we found the table right away, and then like we were able to like walk up and like get our meals, and it was just, like so relaxing. I'm like, this is kind of different. This is not how it was the last time we were on the Wish. And throughout the whole sailing, I was comfortable. I don't know if it's because it was February or what, if it was like not as hot, but like that 4-night we did in July of 23, there wasn't a second I was not sweating.
Right. I was same. It was hot. It was also July, but I wonder if too, since it was a 3-night, maybe it wasn't like sold to capacity, like in the dead of summer.
Yeah. I think it was pretty full ship.
You think that? You think?
I do.
Huh.
But, I think they tried to find ways to make that ship cooler though, in some ways. So like on like deck 11, like I noticed there were like more windows with like hinges that could prop open.
That makes sense.
So I think more breeze was coming in, which was huge because deck 11 was always so hot. Like, and that was the middle of summer too. So, but I'll say like I was comfortable as heck. Like I was wearing long sleeves sometimes, and that's what I normally expect from a Disney Cruise Line ship. Because like at night, like after dinner, you just put on some comfortable clothes. Like the lounges are kind of cold and chillier, you know. And like I just loved it. It just felt like, wow, this is more like what I'm used to on like the Dream and Fantasy. Like I'm starting to like the Wish a little bit more now.
But you know what? I will say when I was on the Treasure, which is the sister ship to the Wish, it had tons of breeze on deck 11. So I bet you what they did was they heard that and they fixed it, and they've gone back and like, You know, because they do.
think
I
so.
mean, because when we sailed the Wish, it was still pretty new, and they've probably
was.
gone back and like, dude, we can't smoke people out in July in this thing. It's a hot
No,
box.
no, you can't.
That's good to
You
hear.
can't. But yeah,
good
so
to hear.
that first night, like, so we got into the rooms and we had connecting rooms, which worked out awesome.
I can't believe that, considering you booked into guarantee.
Booked a
restricted.
guarantee.
Exactly.
That was awesome. So we were aft, and I've always sailed. I mean, no, we were forward, and I always sailed aft. And I was like, well, this should be interesting to do. But like on the Wish, though, they don't have like the elevator banks are a little different. Right? They just have those two.
Mhm.
They don't have like a midship elevator bank. And we were right off. We were like maybe like 6 rooms down from the elevator. And that worked out so good being forward, because you know what's not forward on 11 is the Festival of Foods. So I could just walk up 3 floors, because we're on deck 8. I could just walk up 3 floors and quick get some barbecue or some tacos. Or like with my in-laws, take the elevator. But like it saved on so much walking, honestly. Like that was a beautiful thing to just. Now the adult area was on the complete opposite end.
Yeah.
So that got a little tricky sometimes. I want to go back there. But for like, if you're after like the food, like the quick service food, like that was a perfect location for that. And like so close to the elevator, it worked out so good. And it's got me reconsidering, well, maybe I do like forward on some of these ships. I don't know.
And more importantly for Scotty G, soft serve ice cream.
Oh, dude, soft serve ice cream, baby. you know, I have a story about some soft serve once we get the Castaway.
That's good stuff.
So first day, we're getting settled down.
Yeah.
Everyone's good. My father-in-law takes a nap because he's kind of tired, and then we kind of do our thing after the sail away, because we did second dining, so hung out a little bit, did our usual quizzes and stuff, and we had Marvel the first night, got to meet our serving team, and it was an awesome meal. It was so good. Like my in-laws were into it, like pressing the button, like on the thing, like on the table.
Yeah.
And then my father-in-law, like I was facing him, and like his eyes were just like glued to the screen the whole time while eating, and like he was getting into it. So it was just a great meal, great first day to wrap it up. And then I think we did like a couple other things that night, like some trivias. I was hanging out at the lounges, but it was an awesome first day, and I could just already tell my in-laws were enjoying it.
That's good, because you could probably read by the end of the first night, like, is this going to be their thing or is this not? I mean, because you could kind of see, like,
And it helped that we had a great serving team too. So Rakesh and Javi, or Javier, but they kept calling him Javi. That duo was unreal. And like my mother-in-law could never decide like what she wanted right on that first day. Like, well, I can't decide with these two. And Rakesh will always be like, don't worry, ma'am, I got you covered. I'll pick one for you. But he always came back with both.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll get to Arendelle here in a second, but man, let's just stick with the dining. So like night 2 was Arendelle, and that was the one I was kind of the most nervous about with my in-laws, because like that show is
wild.
It's a little wild. And like my father-in-law was kind of tucked in the corner, and he just didn't seem like he was having the best time. But my mother-in-law was getting into it, like we're having a great time. But like I couldn't decide what I wanted that night either. And so there's 5 of us, Mike. We had 9 entrees on the table. Like I don't know if that's like a second dining thing where they realize like, well, we have a lot of extra meat.
We have all these leftovers, man. Give them serve them up. Yeah. Let's go.
And we kept telling him like, no, we don't need any more. And then all of a sudden, like he walks by and he's got like every dessert that he puts on the table. It was just like, it was like food overload. I mean, and I didn't want to waste it either. So we were like, nibble at some of them, like, dang, but this is a lot of food. They just kept feeding us like crazy. But that was good. My father-in-law got a Mickey bar that night because I told him, because he didn't think any dessert looked good, even though we ended up getting all of them on the table.
Oh man!
But I told him, like, get a Mickey bar. You know, like that's what I like to do sometimes. It's a classic.
Heck yeah!
And he ate it with a fork and knife. I've never seen anyone eat a Mickey bar with a fork and knife.
Okay, you got to make sure you have that in some kind of vlog, because you're a vlogger now, and that's got to. I mean, it's your own peril. He's your father-in-law, but I'm just saying that'd be good for ratings.
Classic fork and knife Mickey bar, like cutting it up like it was a steak. Oh,
that's
man.
crazy.
That was good.
Well, what did they think of it? I mean, was it too much? Because that show is, I mean, it's for Disney fans. I mean, hardcore.
It is. Crazy. Ironically enough, they were with us when we saw Frozen, like on opening day in theaters. Like it was like on your birthday.
Yeah, it was. That year. Yeah, November 27th.
So they have not seen it since that day. So it kind of felt a little familiar to them, but it kind of almost felt like a new show, and It was weird though. Like Olaf didn't go around. I swore Olaf like went around like on a cart or something.
He did. Yeah. For when we had the podcast cruise, dude, he came to our table. The guy was playing the guitar.
Yes.
I mean, it was
None
a
of
lot.
that happened. So I don't know. Maybe there's some difficulties with that, but
Maybe.
it was still good. It was still entertaining. My mother-in-law definitely enjoyed it more than he did, but we had a good time.
That's cool. So what about the third restaurant? So
1923.
Yes. Oh, see, that's my favorite, I think.
So I was really looking forward to this because on the podcast cruise, Liz was sick that night. So neither one of us got to, Emily went, but Liz and I were in the healthcare center on the ship. We got to experience something new then. So I was really looking forward to this one. I was so happy it was the last night just because of that. And this was Super Bowl Sunday. And that steak that I ordered there is probably the best like cruise line steak outside of like Apollo, like a signature restaurant that I think I've ever had. It was really, really great. Super tender, super flavorful. The sides were great. The desserts were great. I got like these little mini churros.
Yes. Okay, so on the Treasure, they moved those to the Coco restaurant.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah,
they're so good. Oh,
so good. Liz ordered the sundae, and because he liked to give us extras, and she still got the churros on the side, But that was really good. And we had a so Jared and Stacy. Shout out to Jared and Stacy, like our best friends, like some of our best people we know, and they brought us they had a bottle of like wine for us, champagne, like in the room. So we brought that to the last night because it's kind of like a dessert wine. So we had that with dessert, and that was awesome. Like Javier just like popped it open because I probably would have made a mess of it if I did it. So that was just like a great way to send off. And so the dining to me, Mike, just was so much better this cruise. I don't know. So I don't know if there's been improvements or what, but like I was kind of down on it after our podcast cruise, but like everything I had on the ship was really good. And Marceline Market, the Festival of Foods. Oh my God, like the burritos and tacos. I don't think I did that the first time.
No, they're good. They
are darn good.
I agree. But I mean, I eat Mexican like 6 days a week. But yeah, because I had a few on the Treasure and I had some on the Wish on the podcast cruise. But I mean, really also like the ribs and the barbecue is rocking. And even just the little hamburger area was.
I've always loved a Disney Cruise Line burger.
Oh my gosh. And chicken sandwiches and like they even have wraps. I'm telling you. Yeah, I mean, you can't sleep on really the counter service or the table service on Disney Cruise Line. I think it's all tremendous. But I mean, I'm not super picky, so.
No, I mean, I'm a little bit more pickier than you, and I was just really critical of the Wish on that first sailing, but like I saw improvements just a year later. I thought it was so good. My mother-in-law, like she loved the barbecue. Like I learned some things about her, but like any time for like lunch on that ship, it was like, oh, let's go back to that barbecue place and get some of those ribs. Those ribs are really good.
Well, so I know you guys tend to do like breakfast sit down rather than like the buffet. Did you hold to that on this, or how'd you guys do that?
Nope, we stuck with Marceline Market this time because it was kind of easier to get in there too. It wasn't too bad. So like the Nassau day, like day 2, we kind of had a relaxing morning. I woke up early to catch some video of like the sunrise, things like that. But we went to the Cove Cafe, had some specialty coffees. Those were delicious. And me and Elizabeth and Emily, we just hung out on deck and just sipping our coffee. Yeah, I love it when the ship comes in because it does like that big turn, when you're like, oh man, it's just so cool. And so we just hung out there. But that was a big day, Nassau day, because a friend of mine, and I didn't even talk about like this setup.
This is crazy. This is crazy.
I was actually invited to this cruise like over a year ago because I had to save the date because my friends Neil and Allie were getting married on this ship. And it just so worked out that this was the sailing that I ended up booking for my in-laws because the timing worked out. And I messaged Neil right away. I'm like, dude, you won't believe this, but I'm actually going to be on your sailing now. Like, so he was super excited. Like, get out of here. So that day, the Nassau day, was the big day. That was the wedding day. So we didn't get off the ship, obviously, for that. My in-laws did, and they got poured on. Side note, they did not have the best day in Nassau. It poured on them. I mean, they made the most of it, but they got soaked out there. But I thought to Neil and Allie, well, that's a good sign, right? Raining on your wedding day, and we were indoors.
Yeah, exactly. It rained on our wedding day. It poured, wrecked.
But I thought about this.
His dad's car.
So when we're at the reception, it was like on that main atrium, and they got married on the stage. And I was thinking, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. It's almost like they built that section for weddings, right? Like that is just a beautiful setting with like the with the stage off to the right, and like they kind of changed the background so it looked like a fairy tale castle behind them. Like it was just a beautiful setting. And then Allie, the bride, comes from like deck 4, like up above, you know, so she's looking down on her friends and family, and Neil's waiting on the stage, you know, like looking all sharp in his tuxedo. Like it was beautiful. Then like you got people on deck obviously watching too as they're walking by, like, oh, look at that princess, she's about to get married. Like it was unbelievably gorgeous.
Well, because I saw that picture of you and Neil, and I was trying to kind of place all that. I didn't know exactly where it took place. So it took place right there in the main atrium of the Wish, and they used
right
that little
there in the main
stage.
atrium of the Wish.
Wow, that's an amazing setting. Holy
this
cow,
is
right
kind
in
of
the heart
funny.
of the ship.
So I got the royal gathering, you know, to see the princesses, and I booked it for noon, which was right before the wedding. I'm like, oh, this would be good timing so that we can go see the princesses. We'll be dressed up a little bit,
Yeah,
and then we can go straight to the wedding. So we get there kind of late, and Allie and Neil are down there like just hanging out, and she was like, I really want to see these princesses, but I don't have a reservation.
you should
And
get in.
And I'm like, well, it's your wedding day. They should let you do what you want.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
That's kind of what we said to her.
Yeah.
So we talked to the cast member, and we're like, hey, like it's their wedding day. Like we're in, like, can the two of them just join our party? And he was like, absolutely not. Like the reservation is for 3.
Shut up.
I know. And I was like, okay, well, we've done this quite a few times.
Yeah, can you just give them?
Because this is their first cruise too. Of like, can they just take ours then? And he was like, nope, it has to be the people that are on the reservation.
No way. No
so
way.
Like, I'm getting kind of fired up. Like,
Yeah,
this
me
is their
too.
wedding day. I can't gift them this.
Yeah,
you know?
no way.
And so he's still giving me a hard time. He's like, well, let me call over to a manager. So he like walks off to the side. He gets like on one of those like wave phones.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and Allie's just like, you know, she's getting married really soon. Like, and like within the hour, she's like, I don't understand.
Dude, you do not need to get a bride rattled over something like this right before she's getting married. Are you kidding me?
I almost wondered if it was like, cause she was like in a wedding dress, if they would have been weird about her getting photos with them, you know,
maybe.
Like, that's kind of like where my mind started going. But then they're like, nope, she's fine. They can join your party. So that's, and then it worked out so perfect. Like another family came in line after us. I asked them if they can go in front of us, because I thought it'd be great for like her to be the last group, then the princesses would leave, and then boom, it would be like the wedding.
Yes.
So she got to do that. So I took some video of them because she was just having the time of her life. Like they were doing like those fun things with their dress, sticking their shoes out in the photos. It was just, I was so happy that they were able to have that moment right before the wedding. And that's where it was. It was right there on the stage, Mike. It was awesome.
Oh, see, I thought that I know a lot of times ceremonies will happen like, I guess they use the funnels now for different things, but like on the classic ships, they used to have like a little chapel and like the forward funnel. Now they're like tower suites. So, guys, how awesome is that though, to have it right in the main atrium where other guests can look down and you're kind of, you know, you have your princess.
So they had it like roped off, you know, so like people just couldn't have it. And they had the exact chairs for like the number of the party. So it worked out great. So there wouldn't have been any chairs for them to sit in. But I'm looking up at decks 4 and deck 5, and I see people lean down the rails.
That's awesome.
Like,
I love
and,
that.
like,
That is
taking
so cool.
video and pictures. And Allie even told me like earlier in the day while they were doing their photo shoot that these 2 little girls said, Mommy, can I have a picture with that princess right there?
That's
Isn't that the
sweet.
cutest thing?
So well, congratulations to them.
Yeah. Congratulations. It was an awesome ceremony. And then right afterwards was the reception. That's the photo you saw that I shared. The reception was at the bayou. I feel like, and you think about it, that's a great place for the reception.
Yeah,
right, right behind where the stage is. Yeah. It's open area and it's beautiful with like the flowers, you know, like the theming of that restaurant. I'm like, oh my God. That's when I said to Elizabeth, they built the ship for weddings, like with that stage and then this reception area. So it's a lovely reception there. They cut the cake. And they had like an open bar for like a little bit of time. So they had like hurricanes, like the bartenders were making those and all that. We did a champagne toast. But I had martini tasting booked at 2:00. so at Nightingale's next door. So Liz and I kind of had the dip. So we took a couple photos with Neil and Allie, said, congratulations. This is like the most lovely wedding ever. Congrats, you know, blah, blah, blah. Then we made our way to Nightingale's and we did the martini tasting, which I know you've done, right? And that's really good.
Okay. So, and I don't know anything about martinis. I did this one with Cheryl, you know, from the Lizards from Switzerland. And we just happened to be in there with her and some of her friends. I knew nothing about martinis. I love this tasting. Like, for one thing, I loved all the martinis, shockingly enough. And I learned a ton about them, and they're really, really good. And I did it in Nightingale's on that ship.
Yeah. And I really wanted to see Nightingale's. And it's so pretty in there, like Cinderella themed. You got the chandelier with like the bubbles coming out of it. It's so pretty in there. And I got to look back at some photos. and I had talked to the bartender afterwards, the lady that hosted the whole thing. I'm pretty sure she's done a tasting for us on another ship. And she was like, but she said she's only been on the Wish. So I don't know, but I don't believe her. So I got to go back. But I think she would know better than me, right? But anyway, that was awesome. So we did so I already had like 2 champagne glasses. I had a hurricane, and then I'm in here and we do like 6 martini tasting. So like I'm feeling pretty good. And I mean, and that's such an educational thing. That's another thing I want to talk about. I think it's a really good value if you can get in on those tastings, because you learn things too, right? Like you mingle, you do some networking with other guests, you learn some things, you have a few drinks, and it's like $50.
Yeah.
Like that would cost you way more than $50 if you just went up to the bar and did that on your own. So
I agree. And plus, like, for somebody like me who never drinks outside of going on a cruise, like that is my only time I drink. And I learned, because I don't know what to buy if I ever go to the store. And I never even, when I get home, I'm always like, okay, I'm going to get the stuff to make these. And I never do. Like I have nothing in the house. But what I really enjoy though is after like a drink or two, like that, because there's only usually 20 people or less in these things, usually like 15, maybe 15 to 20.
Yeah.
And after a drink or two,
maximum like 20.
Yeah. And like after a drink or two, like everybody's best friends. You know what I'm saying? Like it's so
unbelievable.
Fun. And then like the rest of the cruise, when you see the people, dude, it's like you've known like, hey, there's Tony from the neighborhood. And all you did was do a martini tasting with them, but you're best friends.
So another interesting thing I learned, because we used to go behind the bar, like a mixologies, and make those drinks. So she said, normally I would let you come behind here and we'd make some of these, but a guest like cut themselves on a shaker once.
Oh.
And so they stopped doing that, but they did let a few people still go up and make some.
Oh, nice.
So that was kind of nice. I did not. They let one guy go up and make a Manhattan, and another, they let 3 ladies go up and make an espresso martini. So anyway, we're doing great from that. So this is right next to the bayou, right? So we leave. And I'm like, I wonder if the reception's still going on. I wonder if we can sneak back in there and just hang out with like Neil and Allie, see how things are going. So we walk by and reception's still going on. So they kind of have like the chairs blocked off to like block people in. So I kind of moved the chair around, get in there, and go grab a hurricane at the bar and getting ready to mingle. And I realized this is a different wedding.
You're like, I don't know who these bride and groom are.
It was a completely different group.
You're like, my bad.
So
but congratulations, by the way, anyway. Hey,
yeah, you look lovely.
Your wedding.
So that was kind of a funny / embarrassing kind of thing.
Yeah,
but
I mean, that's what happens after all the martini. I bet you everybody went over there after that.
It's kind of interesting. People were upset though. People were trying to get into our martini tasting. They didn't have a reservation. They're like, well, where am I supposed to go? Because the Bayou had like the private event going.
Yeah.
You couldn't get in the Nightingales. I think Keg Compass had like another thing going on. So, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, they can go up to the pool deck is what they told them to do. But like, I can see where that could be a little frustrating, but there's so much to do on that ship. Like, you don't need to be like always having a drink in your hand,
Real quick though, on this, and then we'll talk about some entertainment and stuff like that. But what about Star Wars? You guys go in there, the lounger?
So I showed my in-laws that on the last night. Like on the last night, I was trying to think of like, oh man, what haven't they seen yet? Mm-hmm. And we're hanging out at the bayou because that seemed to be the place we were always hanging out. And I heard the door open. I was like, oh, you guys haven't seen this yet. We got to go in here. And there was one guy in there, Mike.
Think about the hype for that when that ship was being built and like when it debuted. Like, I mean, it was like, oh my God, you're never going to get in there without a reservation, blah, 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 and it's died down.
It really has died down. And he was like working. He was like on a laptop, just working. And I was like, wow, this is kind of weird. So like we showed him around and we hung out for a few minutes so that we could see like the back screen go into like hyperspace. I mean, it's cool in there, but like the hype was unreal for that. I feel like you're not going to see it at the Haunted Mansion bar, but the Star Wars bar, like it definitely has died down. I don't know if it's the drink menu, like what their offerings are or what, but it seems like the hype has gone down big time on that.
My take with that is that once the Treasure debuted with the Haunted Mansion bar, which is the equivalent of the Star Wars bar, it's in the same spot, is that they did the Haunted Mansion bar so detailed and so thorough. I mean, it is so immersive. It is crazy. I mean, it is insane, the level of authenticity to the attraction that the Star Wars lounge, it's cool, but it's not on that level. And I think that just kind of killed some of the hype for it, which it's still fun. I mean, if you're selling on it, it's a great time for Star Wars fans, and the drinks are fun and all that with all they inject the bubbles and they float away. Like, I had a good time in there. But I just think that now the hype's moved over to the Haunted Mansion bar, so that's where all the hype is. But what I think is going to happen when the Wish finally goes into dry dock, look out, because that space will be reimagined to be on the same level with the Haunted Mansion bar when they get a second shot at it.
And I still think it's cool. I mean, I'm not crazy.
It's cool.
Star
No,
Wars,
it's absolutely cool.
but it's super cool in there.
It's just the next generation. Everything goes to the next generation. That's what happens.
Because that night we went in there, I mean, the Wish was still fairly new. Like, it was pirate night, because I remember you had like the eyeliner.
Yeah, exactly, dude. I was a pirate in space. 100.
We had a huge group in there, and it was packed.
Oh, it was. Yeah, I think there was a line. Yeah,
but like, that just makes it more fun to me. Like, right? So we walk in there, and I feel like, oh my god, this poor guy is just in here by himself. Like, that's no fun. Like, like there's no like, good energy with other guests. Like, I think that's what makes it fun. But. Yeah, so you want to talk about the entertainment?
Yeah, so like, did you guys see not just the big shows in Walt Disney Theater, but like side acts, adult club stuff? What would you guys do?
So we found a side act that we loved and became groupies. It was the house band, the Wishers. I don't ever remember the Wishers on our first cruise.
I love that name, the Wishers. That's awesome.
Yeah, at first I thought it was like, I was so confused because like the lead singer was wearing like a vest, like he worked at the Bayou. And the drummer had like on his like normal like cast member name tag on and like a button up shirt. I was like, are they just recruiting people like on the ship for this band? But they just played an unbelievable set. The singer had the craziest range I've ever heard. Like he would sound like a country artist. I don't know like the right word, like a country singer. And then next thing you know, he's singing like a Billy Joel song or whatever, it was just crazy, like the range he had, or like an Ed Sheeran song. Yeah, he'd go from like Ed Sheeran, and then he'd sing like they played Sweet Home Alabama. Like, I mean, they were just all over the place, but they were so good. We caught their sets like four or five different sets like that. I mean, we'd see the Wishers on the app, like, oh, we got to go down to the Bayou and see the Wishers. They're awesome.
So did they just play the Bayou, or did they go up to the pool deck sometimes, or were they just like?
So I only found them on the Bayou, but we have a suspicion theory that they are also the house band for the Pirate Parlay, because you remember there's a live band that plays at that.
I bet you that is correct, dude. I bet you that.
Because we for sure know the bass player was the same, because they almost had like on the same outfit, but like they wear like wigs and stuff, for the parlay, and we're like pretty confident it was the same band.
Yes, I bet you're exactly right. Yeah,
and I want to talk about that. That is still like one of the most entertaining things. Like the Pirates in the Caribbean is good on the other ships, but the Pirate Parlay on the Wish, which I'm sure they probably do the same thing on the Treasure.
They did.
That is just up another notch.
I agree. When I was on the Treasure in December, they busted out the band playing the fireworks again. Yeah. I was like, dude, that is another level, because I mean, it's a live band playing a fireworks show. That is insanity. It's so cool.
And that was one of the most things I was looking forward to my in-laws seeing, because like they've never seen fireworks at sea. And we had them positioned in the spot that we like, so it was hard to see the parlay show. Like they kind of had to watch out in the funnel vision a little bit. But we were in the perfect spot for the fireworks, and I was just kind of watching them more than the show, and like mouths gaped open. It was just like they were like, "Oh my god, like is this really happening?" They're shooting off fireworks on the ship, like they are.
And for folks that are cruising soon, you want to get up to deck 12 midship on the starboard side, so that's a good spot to see the fireworks. Yeah. So starboard side, midship, between the two funnels, get a spot up there. You'll be in a good spot for the fireworks.
That's exactly where
and you can
we
see
were.
The band. Yeah, exactly.
Such a good spot. But yeah, so we didn't do any like the main theater shows, but we saw like Match Your Mate, which Neil and Allie were on.
Oh, were they? I was gonna ask. Nice.
And Neil and Allie won.
Oh yeah.
So that was awesome. It was actually night 2. It was actually the night of the wedding.
So they got their chilled champagne then, I guess.
Yeah, but they had to work to get on, so they didn't do like who's the youngest married couple. They went for the youngest like dating couple. So there's like a couple that had been dating like a few months. So they were like the youngest one, even though Neil and Allie just got married that day, but they knew each other longer than like a few months. So they were like the middle couple. So they had to like do like the dance contest or whatever,
Oh, I hate that. See, I'd never get on for that. That's so embarrassing.
My in-laws could have been the oldest. They were at 40 years and they went with a couple that was 30 years. So glad they didn't play though.
I was gonna say, how much did you want them up there? It'd have been my worst nightmare. No way. Oh my god, you totally just dodged.
But we sat up on the upper deck for that of Luna, and I gotta tell you, like the seating in Luna is so much more comfortable than like the theater, because we had the mustard drill in the theater, and it's just, I think it's because they want to fit as many like people in those theaters, you know. But like, man, it is like narrow seats where you go in Club Luna, man, you can just lay back and like sit back. It's so comfortable in Luna.
So real quick, we have breaking news about your Pirate Parlay band. Jennifer, who lives out here in the Westplex near me, she says the male lead Pirate Parlay on the Wish also plays Eric from McClure High School. And Jocelyn and her friends have met him, which McClure High School is in the school district where I taught and where Pam teaches. So he's from.
So he's on the Pirate Parlay.
Yeah. So yeah, apparently he's from Florissant, Missouri. So he's from my neck of the woods.
If she has a picture of him, I'd love to see him. just to confirm if that's my guy from the Wishers too, because he came out and talked to us after their last set. Because we were at everyone, we were hooting, hollering, having drinks, having a good time. So like, and my in-laws don't drink, so it's basically just me hooting, hollering. But
so for Scotty's birthday, he needs an autographed picture of Eric from.
But no, he was like, "You guys are so great out here supporting us." Like my father-in-law, like you think like I can go up to and talk to anyone and like start a conversation. He talks to every single person. Like
that's awesome.
Like, that's just how they are, man. So like they're just chatting with everyone on the ship, and like they just came up to us and talked, and that was really good. I know we're probably going kind of long. There was a couple things I wrote down that I really want to talk about, and that was our last day. So Castaway Key. So did the 5K. Shout out. This was reminiscent of one of our podcast cruises when we had that double dip. Remember we had a special medal for you, like the Mike Ballman double dip.
Podcast medal.
Yeah, Allie and Neil had a wedding medal made for the 5K because I mean they met through Run Disney. I mean that was like their thing, you know. So and a lot of their Run Disney friends around the ship. So I wasn't there for the 5K. I slept in a little bit, but as I was checking in for my cabana, which I want to talk about here, like they walked by and like, "Oh, Scotty G, like, are you gonna do the 5K?" I'm like, "Yeah, I always do the 5K." So they gave me one of the medals. I was like, "All right, well, I can't put this on until I do it."
Yeah,
later.
Respect. Thank you, because I've seen people just get the medal without even doing the 5K. Respect. Thank you for like the 10th time.
That 5K. So I wore long sleeves off the ship. I don't know why,
dude.
But
you're killing me. You should have got 2 medals.
I ran it in the long sleeves. And that was an awful idea.
And
I know hot. It's February, but it's still jungly.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, you're crazy.
But so the cabana, Mike. It was $880 to book the cabana.
Dude, you're killing me right now, dude. My heart just stopped when you said that much. Ooh.
Painful. So painful. And I only booked it because I saw it available. I've never seen a cabana available. And I sat there for like maybe 2.2 seconds.
No, you booked it
like,
so fast.
Yeah, I'm booking it.
I know you.
Because like I could go to Castaway Key 50 times. I might not be able to see that available. I was like, as a big Disney Cruise Line guy, you know,
you're
the same right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see the experience at least once. So, and with my in-laws, man, boy, did they have a Castaway Key day. Their first time and they're in a freaking cabana.
Yeah, I know. Do they think, dude, you go to they're home back in Michigan telling everybody, man, you go to this private island, you get this private cabana. It's the bomb.
Yeah, not how it always works. But it worked out so good for like my father-in-law's mobile issues. They golf cart you right to the cabana. So you take the tram, like so you gotta walk a little bit to get to the tram. But you go to the second stop, you know, the Pelican Plunge beach area, and then you get off there, and then you check in for your cabana, and then they roll out a golf cart and take you right to that area. So that was new for us, like walking down that cabana-only guest path, and it is beautiful. Like you're looking at these tropical trees and all this. They have like the Caribbean like background loop playing, and you get in the cabana, and like there's a refrigerator stocked with sodas and waters. This awesome like fruit plate. You got like a changing area. You got these loungers and couches. There's a hammock, and like you walk kind of outside the cabana and you look to the left, and like there's the Wish like right there, and like with this beautiful view of the ocean. It was unbelievable. it was so good, Mike.
So here's my problem. I would want to, again, this is me being cheap, but I'd want to spend my whole time in the cabana because I've spent so much for it. I'd want to like be in the shade, be in the cabana. Did it keep you from getting out in the ocean and spend a lot of time? Because I know you guys like to be out in the ocean, kind of bobbing around and having a good time out there.
So we were out there. So one thing we were going to complain to guest services at one point. So we get out there and it is rocky. Like you cannot even walk into the ocean, like from the cabana. It is so bad. And like there's seaweed everywhere where we were. I'm like, this is kind of unfortunate. Like, I mean, I know all the beach should be good, but like the cabana beach should be really good, right? Yeah. These people are paying a lot of money for this like private area. So then Liz and I actually just, because my in-laws just like, they don't mind the shallow water. They're just on tubes anyway. So they're not even like, can tell that there's seaweed or rocks anyway. They want to go back and lounge. So we went to like the main family beach and we're like, oh my God, this is so much better. Like, why is this happening? And then we noticed like we entered like through like Cabana where Cabana 4 was, and it was like super soft sand. So it's just like where our Cabana was. And that's not a big deal. We were like, oh yeah, this is fine. We could just enter through a different area. So, but we did spend a lot of time in the ocean. Like, and you're absolutely right. We isolated ourselves to that area. Like we never like went to into shade or anything like that. Like where I was like, I'm taking advantage of
I would
the
too.
ocean
Yeah.
and the Cabana. And like I sat on the hammock for a while, and like
I would too.
it's so good. But you have like your own host person. So she comes in and checks on you throughout the whole day. Like if you need anything, you have your own private bartenders.
Oh man.
So like, they just come up to you and like, hey, what you need, mom? I'm like, I'll take a Mai Tai or Bahama Mama. Like
gosh.
I mean, you still have to pay for it, but like they just come out to wherever you are and like just serve it to you. Like whether you're like you come out to the beach or like if you're in the hammock, you just hand it to me while I'm in the hammock. It was just so awesome.
So here's the question: Would you do it again? Here's where I think the value is, right? Like split it between families, right? Is that a better value, or is that kind of
100% better value, right? Like if this wasn't a gift, yeah, we would have split that cost and would have made it much more affordable. My in-law, that's all they're talking about. You're saying like they're back at home in Michigan talking about this. They love because they're lounging people. Like they like to sunbathe, and like I don't do that. I get fried.
Yeah, me neither, dude. That's my worst nightmare. I hate getting sunburned.
That was like their favorite thing. Was like they thought that Cabana was unbelievable because it was like semi-private and everything too. And I'll tell you, I mean, it was so nice. Like after a full beach day, and they had the shower, so I can get like all the sand off me right then, and I can change. And I just left Castaway Key in like fresh clothes and like sneakers and the socks on. Like that felt so good. And I have to go like to a bathroom to have to do it. You know what I mean?
Kidding.
Like that alone brought some value.
Yeah, no doubt. I've never done that.
But you had a great entrance to Cookies too. Like you had like almost like a back door entrance in the Cookies too. That was like right where the cabanas were. I didn't even notice that. I'll see it all the time now when I'm at Cookies because I know where to look for. It's like right behind the bathrooms there.
Yeah, I know where it is. I've seen it before. Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. So like I mean, so that was really a lot of people were taking their Cookies too, like back to the Cabana too. So that was allowed, but I wanted them to have like the experience of like Cookies too. So we just like kind of
and fighting off the birds and
exactly. But again, Marianne, my mother-in-law, like she was talking about the barbecue on the ship, and like she could not stop talking about the barbecue on the
I love
island.
your mother-in-law. Like, that's so awesome.
She loved it. Like we were just on the phone with her before we recorded tonight, and like she was talking about, oh man, I keep thinking about that barbecue, Scott.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that was great. Yeah. If it comes up again, like it just depends on the dynamic. Like if we're cruising with you and if you want to like split it or something, then like, if it's the three of us, I don't think we would do it. I don't think we would do it just the three of us for sure.
Yeah. It's one of those things like it's a splurge. It's a definite splurge. I would think. I've never done one because you're at the island, you got a lot going on, but you're eating some of the time, you're on the water a lot of the time. So I've never done one, but I was thinking about that. And the reason I think it popped up is because with 3-nighters, I don't think there's a lot of like pearls or platinums that sail those unless they're doing like maybe like a back-to-back 3 and 4 to make it a 7. Right. I just, because like you said, when you said it popped up, I was like, that's wild, that it did. But I was glad that it did because, like I said, I've hardly ever seen one, and I'm platinum. I never see them available. So I was like, dude, I know. I think only
because the concierge gets the first shot at it.
Yeah,
maybe?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Concierge and pearl.
Because that's who those hosts are. Like, so the hosts that are helping you with your room, like they're the concierge crew on the ship.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. But what was I gonna say? My other theory was there was rain showing a lot on the forecast for the Castaway Key Day. I think someone may have canceled because of the weather, but we had an 87-degree, like perfect. This is February.
That's crazy.
Like we had an 87-degree, like beautiful day on Castaway. Like we couldn't have asked for any better weather that day. It was so perfect.
Man. So,
but there's one more thing I want to talk about too. I got to talk about Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday.
Yes.
On this ship. So my beloved Lions weren't there.
Yep.
That's fine. I was able to actually be like less stressed, I think, and just enjoy the day. I agree. Like enjoy the cabana and all that. But we're sitting at the bayou. Like, so we had second dining 8:15. So call it like around 6. So at 6, you kind of have people like dining, right? For first dining. You got a show going on at the Walt Disney Theater. But then you also had the Super Bowl going on. There was like at the places where I was going, there was nobody, Mike.
So I'm wondering, like, what was dinner like that night? I mean, were people going to dinner like during the Super Bowl?
So people were going to dinner and like
I was wondering
saw
about
more
that.
Chiefs. I saw more Chiefs people at dinner. I'll just
Well, yeah, probably about the second quarter. People are like, yeah, I'm just going to
people were
dinner at
done,
this.
But it was interesting. Like I'm just in the bayou, and it was because like Liz like went shopping or something, and Chuck like went to the restroom or something. I was the only one in the bayou, and like I was just hanging out with the bartenders, talking to them, and all this stuff. I'm like, this is so weird, because the Super Bowl was playing in Funnel Vision.
Yeah.
It was playing in Keg and
Kid
Compass, and it was in the movie theater too, which I thought was kind of a cool
That
spot
is cool.
for it to be.
Yeah. I'd have
So,
watched
like,
it. I would have watched it on Funnel Vision if I'd had much brothers, probably.
Yeah. But I just decided like I'm gonna take advantage of all these empty areas on the ship. Like it was so like unique to go to these places that there's so many people normally during the day. There was no one there.
Yes.
Because they're all watching the game.
Was there entertainment? Like, was there somebody playing live music in the bayou, or was there just
Oh
you?
yeah, well it was the Wishers.
I was Wizards. It's in our super fan. It's super fan Scott.
Yeah,
and
hey,
Wizards.
it's Scott and Chuck. But so I found that kind of interesting. Like, so I kind of have a little bit of, I think I did like a little video hit. Like, the Super Bowl's on, first dining's happening, Aladdin is playing in the theater. Like, I'm the only guy watching this band right now. This is so weird.
You're like that Twilight Zone episode where the atomic bomb fell and the dude was in the vault.
Yes.
And time it lasts or whatever. Like you're the last person on the ship. Like everybody else is watching the Super Bowl.
But there were so many jerseys, so many Chiefs and Eagles jerseys like that day. Oh, it was kind of cool. Like, I kind of wish I would have gone out and just like saw what the Funnel Vision like hype looked like, like I heard from guests like they weren't, because it's Fox. So I mean they weren't showing it in the rooms and in the staterooms, they're only gonna show ABC Disney channels. But I heard like they weren't even showing the commercials like on the main, like where they were playing it. So that would have been kind of interesting to watch. Like I don't know what they were showing in between, but I know there were no commercials that were showing during the game.
Well, I saw that video, so I posted it in the clubhouse over in the Discord. And like,
Yeah, that was on my ship.
Yeah, I know. Like somebody had an eagle, had the inflatable eagle, and like was up there right under the Funnel Vision, like running around. Like, woo, 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 woo.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and the thing is, and this is not disrespectful because Moose, we love you, Jocelyn's husband. I mean, dude, #1 Eagles fan, shout out, congratulations, and all of our Eagles fans. We have tons. Doug from another podcast, like we love you guys, but you're a different breed, man. I'm telling you, like. So was it nuts? Like, I mean, did they try to flip your ship? I mean, I'd have been like, oh my God, the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl. This ship's going down. I mean, they
all the alcohol's going to be gone.
Exactly, dude. I'd be so worried.
No, actually, it was pretty calm. Like, it was pretty good. Yeah. I mean, that night I only made it to like 11 p.m. That was the night I called it the earliest. It was 11 p.m. Like, I was tired, man. Because so that's something I thought about with these 3-night cruises too. Like, you try to cram so much. Like we went hard. Like we're up to like 12:30, 1 a.m. Like doing as much as we can. Me, Liz, and Emily, not my in-laws. They were tapping out earlier than that. But then I wanted to catch sunrises, the next morning. I was like, woo, but if you're doing a 7-night sailing, you're spreading that out a little bit more, So like, because you just want to get the most. Like you're 3 days on the ship. We love the ship, So but one other thing I just really want to say is like I still don't like the layout. After all that, I love the ship. I love it a lot more than I did previously. Great food, great crew, great entertainment, great all that. The layout still bugs me. Like those dead ends,
So I've been on the Treasure, right, for just 3 nights, but the Treasure won me over a lot. And it's the same layout, but they improved almost every, like, aesthetically, they kind of changed things to where it made it feel better. But you're right. I prefer the layout of the Fantasy and the Dream. That's my favorite layout. But I'm super excited, like you, to sail the Magic this summer because I haven't been on the classic ships since Mallory was like 8. And so that's like 9 years ago when we did a spring break cruise on the Wonder. And I haven't been on the Magic since the first year of the Disney Cruise Line in 97. So I'm excited to see that again for the first time in ages and really make that comparison to all 3 classes and see what I think.
Mm-hmm. But I still enjoy it. But it's just like to get through the adult pool. Like on the first day, I told my in-laws, "Oh yeah, you got to go to 13, and then it's right there." But then like you can't. You got to go to. If you go to 13, then you got to go down 2 flights, depending on where you are. Like it just doesn't go all the way through. Like our old deck 4. Doesn't go all the way through. So it's just different. But I mean, I navigated it so much better now. Like Jared was telling me when we did the podcast cruises, like you're gonna be sorry you didn't do any research because I didn't because I wanted to how often do you get a brand new Disney?
I know, and that's how I am.
experience, right?
I don't spoil myself before new experiences. I don't.
And Jared was like, I think you're gonna be a little sorry, Scotty, that you did that. And like, I see what he meant, because like, it just, you would start walking and you would end up in a dead end. But like, I feel like I learned from that, and like, so I was able to navigate the ship a lot better. You just got to learn it a little bit. I mean, it's gorgeous. It's beautiful.
Beautiful. Oh my gosh. It's
I know
so
Pam
beautiful.
says it's her favorite. I don't think
Pam's
it's my favorite, but I have a lot more respect for it now after getting to spend more days on that ship.
Well, and it's got those like little venues, like that little coffee bar right off the atrium, which is really cool. I mean, like the other ships don't have that.
Coffee bar.
Yeah, I mean, it's got so many cool like additions. It's got that indoor hero zone, which is amazing. That's
I didn't even go. Oh, that's another place where they played the Super Bowl. They're playing in the hero zone too.
Yeah, I mean, that's like that multi-purpose room. That's an amazing addition to a cruise ship. I mean, it's so cool. And, you know, hardly ever talk about that. It's so hidden away. It's weird because like the footprint looks enormous when you're inside there. Yeah. Like, where's that like hidden? It's crazy.
I just wish they had longer dining hours, if that makes sense. You know, like Festival of Foods, like closes during a weird time, like 6 to 9.
I agree. That thing should be open like almost 24 hours.
So it's like, and Liz was like, they really want you to go to main dining.
They do. They do.
They shut it down from 6 to 9, but besides the grill, so you get like the burgers and chicken tenders, but it's weird. And then when I say 6 to 9, 9 o'clock is when the pizza window opens. So like the tacos and the barbecue closes at 6. It's like 11 to 6 is when that's open. It's a weird time window. And Marceline Market is open for like an hour and a half for lunch, which I wouldn't recommend for lunch, man. Just go to Festival of Foods. Like that's where it's at. Like, it's so good. Yeah. So I wish the hours were a little bit different. And I wish you could like go to Marceline Market. How, you know, because even when Cabanas isn't open, you can like still sit down and like relax. I remember you, me, Pam, and Liz once. We just were talking in Cabanas in the middle of the day because it was an air conditioning chill spot and it was quiet. It's just weird that they closed that section off where you can't walk through and just sit down and enjoy some quiet time. You know what I mean? I wish they would do that, but for that being like my only like feedback, like I mean, it's a great ship. Like it's beautiful. I will always encourage people to always sail Disney Cruise Line, and I have a better respect for the Wish after getting to sail it a second time.
So just a few things real quick and then we'll wrap. So Emily got to sail with, of course, you guys and her grandparents. So, I mean, what was her feedback from this? I mean, that's got to be pretty cool for her.
She loved it. She loved taking her Nana and like showing her things, you know, like especially during the wedding. Cause like Melissa and I were like checked out for a few hours during that. So Emily got to hang out with her Nana and like show her things. They got to have lunch and all that. So she was having a great time. And then when they got tired, and then boom, it was like back to us. Emily never quit, man. She was like, I'm go. Yeah. At one point, she's like, I just want to sit down and read my book because like she's a book nerd, you know.
Yeah, totally.
But she had such a great time. It was just fun with her, like showing to like a place she loves, like Castaway Key, like showing her grandparents that. Like it was great. I loved watching her interact. It was mostly with her grandma because like Chuck. I don't even know what Chuck is watching, but like I told them we were gonna go live tonight, but he can get a little pouty sometimes, you know, like he's achy, you know, so he'd want to nap or not do as much, where her grandma always wanted to be doing stuff. So that was fun for Emily just to show her around.
That's a cool opportunity, you know, for grandparents to get to spend that, you know, a whole weekend, you know, on a cruise, because cruise it's such a laid back experience, but you're getting to go to fun meals and sit down and have, you know, that quality time during a meal, and also, you know, on deck where you're just hanging out. I mean, you guys probably played cards or something at some point, or I mean, it's just kind of how you guys roll. Yep.
It was so good.
Cool. So, and you're going to have, I'd imagine, hopefully you'll have some vlog footage at some point about the cruise so people can check out some footage.
Yeah. I was recording every day. I don't know how good it's going to be because as I said, I was kind of checked out. So I did record. So I'm going to try to post something for every day. I don't know when I'm going to post it, but I'll start getting that data around here soon. I still got our Thanksgiving trip at Walt Disney World I want to post too. So it'll be coming out for sure. But there's a funny thing, Mike, that my in-laws said was like their favorite thing. You'll get a kick out of this. You'll appreciate this. So when they've cruised in the past, like out Port Canaveral and such, they like do a car service. So we rented a car. We have a pretty good company rate for renting a car. So we found it to be like a wash if we were to rent a car and do like a car transfer drop off versus like paying a daily rate and parking it. It felt like it was the same. So we had that flexibility of having a car, which is nice. So on disembarkation day, we went to Old Key West, like our home, because you can pool hop as a DVC member. That's one of the resorts you can go to.
I saw you go there, and I'm like, dude, they just got off the ship. Are they going to Olivia's? I was trying to figure out what you're doing.
My mother-in-law wanted to go to Olivia's so bad.
See, she's smart.
because they stayed in a 2-bedroom with us once, and all she kept remembering is how much she loved Old Key West and Olivia's. But we're like, hey, we got the swimsuits. Like, let's go to the pool. And they thought that was the best thing, like getting off a cruise and not having to like take a private car, like a transfer to the airport and sitting at the airport for like 6 hours, waiting for your flight. She was like, that was so great that we were able to like spend more time after the ship and like hang out with you guys and go to the pool and swim and relax and talk. Like that was like a highlight for them, like not having to rush into like going to the airport. So that was just kind of like a tip for me is like, and you should always book, like if you're flying the day of disembarkation, make sure you get that later flight. Cause you never know, like it could be an issue coming back to port. Maybe there's a customs thing or whatnot. Like, same thing as our rule, like fly in a day early, like maybe fly out the next day or at least like a later flight. And we were able to take advantage of that because we were able to get off the ship at a decent time. And we just hung out at Old Key West and had a great time.
Because I saw you and Find My Friends. You were driving and you were like going right at the airport. Like, and I was like, oh, he's flying home. I was like, dang, he's going right home. And then you went right past the airport. I was like, you just went right past the airport. I guess he's not going to the airport. And then I saw you, he's going to Old Key West. I'm like, that dog's going, he's checking into Old Key West. And then it's like, then you just like stayed in the main building. I'm like, he's eating at Olivia's. I'm like, man.
Well, actually, I ended up not eating at Olivia's.
I know. Then all of a sudden you're at Animal Kingdom Lodge. I'm like, dude, he's going to Sanaa. I'm like, you're killing it.
Emily has been craving Sanaa. So they were having a great time there. And I mean this in the kindest way, but I mean, I own it. Old Key West is like my favorite resort, but it almost feels like a retirement home sometimes, Like,
hey, dude, that's my jam at this point in my life. I'm good.
I know, right? I love it. So, like, there's people like my in-laws' age, like, all hanging out at the pool. So they're talking with them all because I told you they talk to everybody. So, and they're like, well, as weird as this sounds, guys, like, we're kind of hungry. I know all we've been doing is eating on this ship.
You got to wean yourself from the cruise. It's bad.
Yeah, but we got to eat something. We've been swimming. That kind of works up an appetite. And they're like, well, we're really not. Like, can we just hang here? Like, hang out with these friends that we're talking with. So they ended up playing cards and all that stuff while we went to Sanaa. So they were having a great time. And then we came back and picked them up. And then they wanted to eat then. But they wanted something quick, like not like a Olivia. So
yeah.
Goods to go is fine, but then you got to eat outside. So we actually took them down the road to Saratoga to Artist Palette. And they sat inside in the air conditioning, had a nice meal there. Got to show them another resort.
Yep.
I swung by the golf shop, bought some new golf gear.
I was wondering where you got that. Okay, now that makes sense. Cause I was wondering, where did you go to the Poly? Because I saw your hat, your sweatshirt. I'm like, because now I'm trying to like, I've seen kind of like you're a Coronado. I'm trying to connect the dots.
I know, and I was doing a bad job
like
sharing.
Gear? Yeah, no, but it was
I was
fine.
trying to be more in the moment.
Because I didn't, because I wasn't trying to bug you, but I'm trying to figure out, okay, dude, I know he didn't play golf, but he has all this golf gear. Now, where did he get the golf gear? Okay, so now the mystery's all unfolding here. Okay, I get it. Saratoga. Yeah. So you're over at LDV.
And they loved that. They loved just like sitting in Artist Palette, just like Emily and I went to the golf shop. So it was kind of good for Liz. That was like almost like one of the first times Liz was just with their parents, so that was good for them just to like wrap up the trip with a nice meal. Then we headed to the airport. Our seats were all next to each other. And then my father-in-law, like, oh, I didn't even say this. because I came from Vegas.
So that's like, right. Yeah, dude, you were gone for like a week before this, straight across the country. I didn't even
fly down with them. So I didn't even know like where the car was parked or who drove or any of that stuff. But my father-in-law drove. We had a good parking spot, and they were gracious enough to drive us home first because that's where our car was and everything. So they drove us home, got home like around 11:15 at night. I know that's brutal going to work the next day.
You were still cruising when I was going to bed. I was like, he's still driving home. Oof.
Yeah. But you know what? By working the next day, that's another day I have saved to have more fun later on this year, right?
I did wave to you though when I was coming home from Disneyland. Because I told the pilot dude, I said, we got to fly right over Vegas. So I waved to my boy Scotty G, and because I had the 5:30 a.m. flight, and I could see that sphere, the big ball. I was like,
I was right next to that. That's where my hotel was. Right
I was like, dude, that is the strip down there. No kidding. And I took a picture and sent it to you. I'm like, dude, I'm right over your head.
And I was like waking up around then. I was like, I know we're on the same time zone now. I'm like, what are you doing already up?
Oh, dude, I had to get my Uber came and got me at 2:30 a.m. on that Monday. It was
rough.
Brutal. But I wanted to get home. When you're flying east, man, you lose all those hours and it just stinks.
But like I luckily adapted to back to the time change with no problem because like I got tired in Vegas. So when I flew back to Florida, like we got the room, got the car rental, got checked in the Coronado kind of late, and then I was tired, so I was ready to go to bed like at 11 o'clock. So boom, I was back on Eastern time just like that, which is awesome.
So we know we went long. This is just Mike and Scott talking like we would be on the phone, but you know, it's a podcast today. So you guys know this is what we do, but it's, you know, this is good information, I think, for folks that are considering a Disney cruise. I mean, you got information of traveling with folks that have maybe never sailed Disney Cruise Line. You're an experienced Disney Cruise Line traveler. So you've done this a couple times now, the weekend 3-night cruise. Not your favorite because, you know, more time on the sea is always the best answer, but it scratches that itch for you, right? In the wintertime, especially. I mean, kind of, you know, it's not ideal, but it's fun. It's a good.
I love it for a weekend. I love it for a weekend. The problem, my biggest problem is like the cost, the investment of time, like the investment for the airfare. You know, like I rather spend that the airfare amount isn't going to change, right? Whether you do a 3-night cruise or like a 7-night cruise, so you feel like you're losing value a little bit there. So, but it's so good. It's so good to just be on a ship, right? Like it's better to be on a ship than not be on one, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you can get so much done on 3 days too. Like if you do like the 3-night where you go to Nassau, highly encourage if you're like a ship guy or ship person, just stay on the ship.
Yeah, I would never get off.
I mean, my in-laws they did a little shopping. So, I mean, they had a good time, right? Unless you have like a nice, like big excursion plan, but on a 3-night, I don't think it's worth it. Just take advantage of the time on the ship. And then heck, even if maybe not even, you can't skip Castaway. I was gonna say, maybe you can skip Castaway a little bit. No, don't ever skip Castaway.
Especially not in the wintertime when you're from a cold climate. You know what I'm saying? Like you need to get some sand between your toes, at least for maybe 2-3. You don't maybe not stay out there for 8 hours, but maybe go 4 or 5 hours.
But I will say, so I've taken my in-laws now to Walt Disney World twice and now to Disney Cruise Line. And I think this is the most fun we had because it's not as, still can be tiring, right? I mean, if you're going like all over the ship and all that, but it's easier to just tap out. Like for my father-in-law, it'd be like, you know what, guys, I'm going to take a couple hour nap. And it's not hard for us to like, it's not like, okay, now we got to go to a theme park and do this and like all that work. Like all we're going to do is like walk down to the Trident or Luna, do a couple quizzes, then we'll meet up with you later. You know, like it works out so well for like a bigger group. I think like the podcast cruise, right? Like it works out so well for, we can have dinners together or do other meetups, but we can still have like our own separate vacations too. Like it's so good. So I highly recommend this for like your family's extended family to do cruising. It's the best vacation for that. I really, truly believe so.
That's why I can't wait for July. It's coming around real soon. So I'm super excited to get on the Magic.
But podcast cruise? Like, so who's going on that?
Oh, you are now. Me,
baby, I booked it.
I know you're booked. I'm booked. We're gonna have a good time. Bankhead's cruising with us. I'm telling you what, it's gonna be a blast, and that is on the horizon soon.
Yeah, so I'm gonna start thinking about activities and creating the Facebook page and all that. Now that I'm sailing, I'm gonna start getting in.
Yes, because now that and plus me too, because now that I'm done with Disneyland races and marathon weekend, and once we get past the Give Kids the World thing, I'm really, really focused on that because we gotta that's happening in a few weeks. And then, yes, 100% into the podcast cruise planning. And Trisha is going to be helping us with that too. She's, Trisha, she's super excited and all in on that over on the Discord. But so I got to ask you this last question. I know I've asked you the last question 7 times already because we are super long,
dude,
but
I wasn't sharing any photos. I got to start posting some stuff.
By the way, come over to the Clubhouse and do that in the whatever channel you want. I don't care. So trivias and stuff like that. What was the best, like minor, besides the Wishers? Like I love the stuff like trivia. Like, was there a favorite trivia, a favorite crazy, like fun side activity, like thing?
Oh yeah,
you did? Adult, the cruise director staff thing.
So we're doing so many trivias, right? One of my favorites was Disney food. It was one of the trivias.
Disney food.
Yeah. So it was like, is the churro 10 inches, 12 inches, 14 inches?
Shut up, dude. It's like, after I take a bite, it's only like 3 inches.
There was, what restaurant, which of the following restaurants is at the Grand Floridian Resort? Like, I mean, it was funny. Like,
oh, nice.
Like stuff like that. Like,
and you didn't win that?
No.
Scotty G.
One of the questions was Animal Kingdom has a restaurant called Satuli Canteen. What does Satuli stand for?
Oh, dude.
Someone knew it.
Shut up. I was going to say, I have no idea what that is.
That person cheated, though, because she got a perfect score on that, and she got a perfect score on another ridiculous game. And then I saw her, like, on her phone. Like,
she had the internet package. She had the internet package.
That bugs me so much when people do that.
Oh, me too. That grinds me.
But the 80s music trivia, like, that's always a blast. Like, the 90s music trivia. We did a 70s music one, too. My in-laws came to that one, and while I know my 70s, like I don't know my disco 70s too much. And like I was very heavily on the disco. So that kind
You
of hurt
needed your
us.
boy Mike right for 70s disco, dude. I
Yeah, I
watch
could have used you.
I watch Love Boat every day, man.
Man, I needed you so many times. I was like, man, we need Mike right now. You know?
That's the 10 years, man. Helps out there.
But yeah, just we just love that and just hanging out on the pool. I did the Aqua Mouse. I did not do that in the last sailing, so I got to experience the Aqua Mouse. That was so much fun.
It's like Mickey and Minnie's, isn't it? Kind of.
Yeah,
like
it's great. And Emily was telling me like she thinks like that scene changes sometimes.
It
like,
does. I think it can.
So that's kind of has some more. I mean, I'd ride that all day. I mean, it's so much fun.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much it like sprayed you too.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I was getting blasted on that. It was so much fun. But man, just hanging out and lounging and talking. Like during the trivias, you know, and seeing like the game shows in Luna, you know, like have you heard like where they play like the sound and you got to guess whatever and like Quest and all that. It's so much fun. I love cruising so much.
When it's super cold, like it is in the Midwest this week, it just makes me want to be on a cruise ship more. And I was excited for you. And final thought is that I'm so glad you did disconnect. I mean, I think that's such a cool experiment because we have been in this era and it's just going to get worse and worse because these ships are getting connected to Starlink and the internet's getting faster and faster. It's going to get less and less expensive for the packages. It's still pretty expensive, but we're just in this era where everybody's got to be connected all the time. And I think if you have the discipline to disconnect, I mean, I think it makes the cruise experience richer. I say that and I don't. I mean, but I'm glad you did. No, it's cool.
It does. I mean, you're just and like if something crazy happens, you're gonna find out. You walk by, there's like TVs, you know, you'll hear something from a guest if like a crazy event happened. But it's just so good to disconnect and just be with your people, be in tune with your people, because there's so many times we're in our living room and we're just have the TV on, we're all in our phones. Like,
Same.
No, let's not do that. Let's not do that.
Same.
You know,
like at dinner too. It's like let's put our phones down. Let's talk to each other. So
and
that's
like,
cool.
and I feel so bad about that. And like Emily calls me out a lot for it. And like, why's my teenager calling me out for being on my phone? That seems backwards, you know?
Same.
So that's why it's so great to be on the ship and just be more engaged with her because she's graduating soon, Mike, as you know, man. Like I thought about that a lot while I was on this cruise. Like, man, I just need to like soak up as many moments as I can with this girl while I got her here, you know? So.
We're going to celebrate that this July. We're going to celebrate.
Yeah, we are, baby. We're going to celebrate.
We are. We're going to make that a celebration on the show.
I'm excited for that, but man, time can slow down a little bit.
I do. Tell me about it. I know, dude. You and me both. So yeah, we have a lot to celebrate this summer. But hey, Scott, thanks. Super long show. Could have been longer, but this is what we do. Thanks for taking
This is what we do, man. This is so much fun. This is the most fun I'm going to have all week.
And if people have questions Sunday night, call in.
Yes.
Any questions, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Sunday night, whenever, shoot us a DM, hit us up on the Discord, man. We are available to answer your questions.
All right. Come on over, beourguestpodcast.com/clubhouse. There'll be some pictures. There'll be some, if you have questions, comments about the show, drop in and just hang out with us. That's where we're always at 24/7. It's like a listener question show that just never ends. So come on over and join us. Don't forget our show is brought to you by the Magic for Less Travel. We'd love to help you plan your next Disney adventure for no additional cost to you. All the details today are over at themagicforless.com. Please also use our Amazon affiliate link when you shop online. That one extra click supports everything we do throughout the year. beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. Thanks for using that when you can. And also a huge thank you to our Patreon supporters. You guys make this show possible. We could not do this without your support. For just $5 a month for like a cup of coffee a month, you become one of our all-stars. You keep us on the air and you get a bonus show every week called Mike in the Midwest. Come over this week. We'd sure love to have you at patreon.com/beourguestpodcast. Give Scott a follow on social media at epscott, EPSCOT. I'm at beourguestmike, Instagram, Twitter, and Threads. We have the live show this Sunday night at 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central, 5 locations you can watch live: Facebook, Twitter/X, YouTube, Twitch, and Instagram. So wherever you like, join in and give us a call. Let's talk Disney. All the topics will be on the table. And of course, check out Scott over at Must See Adventures. Did you get that right? Why all of a sudden did I blank out?
You got it.
I'm blanking out all of a sudden. Must See Adventures on YouTube. And so, Scott, you're going to try to get some stuff up there here maybe in the next week or so. You're thinking maybe the other trip from November? Or
yeah, so I was gonna actually put a poll out. What do people want to see? Do they want to see the recent cruise? I just did a long cruise summer series, so maybe people want to see something different. So I'm gonna put a poll out there to see what the people want. I I did some Vegas stuff too, Mike. So I might have a little Vegas series too. Yeah,
because you had that vault place, and you were in your San Diego Padres alternate hoodie, and then you got taken into a vault with.
Dude, you and I got so much catching up to do.
I know. I've just kind of saw like hits there, here and there, like tuxedoed bartenders, and you're in your alternate. Padres
my alternate Padres jersey. That did not go good.
You discovered.
So let us know what you want. Let us know what you want to see. Do you want to see some Walt Disney World footage, like around Thanksgiving time? This cruise. I got stuff in Canada, Tennessee.
I got to see it all.
I got a backlog of stuff.
Well, so,
but really quick, I just had a memory. I wrote it down, and like Amanda's in the chat. I met Jason and Amanda on the ship. Like I'm just walking by Keg and Compass. I'm like wearing my swim shirt. I'm like soaking wet, and I hear like a Scotty G.
Shut up.
I go in there, and I had to spend like a good 15 to 20 minutes just chatting with them about just life, man. That's another beautiful thing about the cruise, man. You can. Especially with the podcast, like we have such a great listener base, and like anytime, I know you feel the same way, Mike. If it probably happened to you in Disneyland, just come up to us and chat with us. I love learning their story, and they have a 17-year-old too that was cruising with them. They were just having a lounging time, having the pretzel at Keg and Compass. It was so great meeting them and chatting with them. So that's what it's all about.
And shout out Jason and Amanda for stopping Scotty G while he's dripping wet and making him stand there and talk.
Yeah, I'm going to share that photo later on tonight. You might not be able to tell how wet my shirt is, but you can tell I got my swim shirt on for sure.
You are now my best friends. That is awesome. All right, we are going to jump out of here, but we'll be back again on Wednesday with more of your listener questions. Sorry we went long, but hope you enjoyed the trip on the Wish with Scotty G and his family. So until we talk again, for Scott, I'm Mike, wishing you a great Monday. Stay safe. Stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon.
You've been listening to the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. If you have questions, comments, or would like to be a guest on the show, please visit our website at beourguestpodcast.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you real soon.